Alright, peace, Shawna. So, this is going to be part three of your reading. And so, for some reason, I thought we already were at part 4. And so, I was studying some aspects within your chart that I was actually going to reveal and read on part 4. But we'll just do part 4 on part 3, and we can do part 4, part 3. You feel what I'm saying? I'll be good, what I'm saying. So I was actually supposed to read your aspects right now, but for some reason I started studying and looking into your houses, your house signs. You feel me? And it's because I kind of got entangled with because the reading that I've been doing for my other clients, that's where we're at right now. You feel me? So I'm looking into the houses, and for some reason I thought that you were up to date with us. You feel what I'm saying? So I started looking into your houses as well. But it's gonna be dope. You know, it's not gonna intrude or anything like that. But anyways, let's jump into the houses. So first things first, right? The first house. The first house is also known as the ascendant or the rising sign. You know, the first house, it is a house of great importance as it deals with you. It is who you are. So like, it's who you are, but also in a sense who you are becoming. You know what I'm saying? It's those energies of, because right, we call it the rising sign or the ascendant. So it's like what you're ascending into. You know what I'm saying? But in order for you to ascend into it, we can say you're like, you're already that. You feel me? It's like the seed of a palm tree or like an oak tree. You feel me? The seed is no different. I mean, it is. There is a difference between the seed and the oak tree, but it's like the oak tree is held within the seed, right? The potential is held within the seed. Anyways, your ascendant is in Scorpio. So with your ascendant being in Scorpio, this indicates that your chart ruler is Mars and also Pluto, of course, Pluto. And so with your chart ruler being Mars, you know, this can be heavy. This can be like pretty heavy energies. You feel me? And it's heavy energies because Mars is a maleficent planet that deals with strife, that deals with hard work. You feel me? That deals with yeah, you know, just like struggling and building something though. So it can play out as construction or destruction. You feel me? Harmoniously and positively, Virgo is all about construction, but negatively it's all about destruction. But anyways, I wanted to pull up your where your Pluto was, and coincidentally you have Pluto in your first house in the sign Scorpio. So it gets hella Scorpio. It gets hella Scorpio and Plutonic when we're talking about you. You feel what I'm saying? And so what this all means is that, you know, the truth is Scorpio is a very like traumatic sign. You feel me? They're very inclined towards drawing and attracting trauma to them. But like when I talk about the Scorpio energy, like I personally love Scorpio, you know, and I've dated a couple of Scorpios. Like I just have a natural love for that energy. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like, the thing about Scorpios is, I hope that you can see me. I think you can see me. The thing about Scorpios is they're very strong. You feel me? And there's a saying, right, that God gives His strongest warriors the most battles. You feel what I'm saying? Because we are His strongest warriors. So Scorpios, you know, they do incarnate into a life that's filled with strife and hardship. And being a feminine sign, you feel what I'm saying, there is an inclination and an indication of an association and a connection to the mother. You feel what I'm saying? And feeling tremendously connected with the mother. But it's like you also have your moon in Capricorn, so this makes a lot more sense. But a lot of the times with Scorpio, because it is a maleficent negative sign, their connection and association with their mother, it can be more so orientated towards responsibility. You feel me? More like guilt type energy, maybe feeling like not being there for her, and now you feel like you have to be there. But it's like with the Scorpio energy, they may just have a tendency of, you know, taking care of people, you know, and feeling like just feeling responsible for people type energy. You feel what I'm saying? But ultimately with Scorpio energy here, right, Scorpio is a very reserved and mysterious sign. So these individuals, they're not really the type who are expressive or outward in their expression. you know, but they're more to themselves. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like Virgo is also a reserved sign, which your sun is in, and Capricorn is another reserved sign, which your moon is in. So you are a very reserved individual in the sense of keeping to yourself, and you don't really publicly express yourself. And so, you know, Capricorn, Virgo, and even Scorpio, especially Scorpio, can be subjects to, you know, that syndrome, that syndrome of like, bitch resting face. You feel me? Because it's like the Scorpio is just an energy that is naturally intimidating. Like when you walk into a room, people can feel your energy, they can feel your intensity, and it's like you are a very intense person, you know. And Scorpio being a sign that deals with sexuality, you do have abilities to exude tremendous amounts of sexual energy. And it's like without even knowing it, people may just it's like you like hypnotize them with sexuality, where it's like they're just magnetically drawn and attracted to you, and it would just kind of happen unconsciously, you feel me? But there is this like sexual aura about you, and it's like sexuality is really just raw creative energy, you feel what I'm saying? So yeah, learning to tap into that and work with that raw sexual creative energy will be of tremendous value, you feel what I'm saying? So but yeah, that's what Scorpio is about, you know. It's about intensity. And so Scorpio's thought trend is I desire, you feel what I'm saying? And so Scorpio is also the feminine expression of Mars, and Mars is the sign of passion as well, you know. It's a sign of like sexuality, it's a sign of ambitions, motivations, but ultimately passions, you feel what I'm saying? And so Scorpio, right, so it's like Aries is the masculine expression. Aries is all about pushing out their passions, pushing out their ambitions and aggressive energies, you feel what I'm saying? But then Scorpio, they're more about honing in emotionally, internally to their passions, you feel what I'm saying? Honing in emotionally and internally to their ambitions, and not per se pursuing some ambitious endeavor for someone else, but for themselves, you feel me? That's what Scorpio is all about. Really tapping in and learning who and understanding who they are. And it's like for Scorpio's ascendant, it's very important that they tap into astrology, because Scorpio actually, the 8th house specifically, which is the house of Scorpio, specifically rules this astrology, you know, the science of astrology. And so Scorpio's ascendants typically do find themselves drawn to astrology, and then when they get into it, you know, because they like to dive deep, they find it to be a great resource. And it is a tremendous great resource in helping you understand yourself, you know. And it's like beyond just even working with me, I would recommend like just learning astrology in general. And so I do have astrological classes coming up, and I would highly recommend you getting those, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, so it's like with Scorpio ascendant, it's important to understand that in this life you're here to evolve and you're here to transform. And it's like and it's like when you push against that current, because one way or another life is going to bring to you circumstances and situations where it's going to ask you to evolve and grow, you feel me? And whenever you push against your growth and your evolution, then it's like circumstances will either make you evolve, or you'll find yourself being stuck in loops and experiencing continuous cycles over and over and over, right? Scorpio is the 8th sign, right? And the 8 is like the snake eating its own tail, you feel what I'm saying? Like the snake eating its own tail. But anyways, yeah, I would say yeah, that's pretty much your ascendant in Scorpio. Now we're gonna look into your 2nd house in Sagittarius. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention is like you know, you have your Mars in Gemini in the 8th house. So with your Mars being in Gemini in the 8th house, it's an energy of like, ultimately I would say learning how to speak life into yourself, you feel what I'm saying? Because that's what Gemini is all about. It's about communication, right? And it's about thoughts as well. So even learning to generate thoughts that are harmonious within into yourself, you feel me? And that's tremendously going to be a great path in transformation, right, I should say. So thoughts and words, you feel me? Learning how to work with thoughts and words in a manner in a manner where you're using them to assist in constructing something, or assist in pushing away from something you dislike into something you want. You feel me? Because Mars is a very aggressive planet. It's about strife. So strifing through your words and your thoughts. And so being intellectual about how you use your thoughts and your words. And the 8th house is a house that deals with the hidden things, the unseen, the unconscious mind. So like getting into esoteric psychology, which I most definitely teach, and which I do hope I can teach you, after we get done with this astrology breakdown. Getting into that would be tremendously benefit with the first house being in Scorpio. But anyway, second house in Sagittarius. So your second house is in Sagittarius. What this all means is that hold on, I want to look at where your Jupiter is also. So your second house is in Sagittarius, and your Jupiter is in the 10th house in Virgo. Okay, that's interesting. So with your second house being in Sagittarius, the second house is a house that deals with value, possessions, material, monetary, right, possessions as well. It deals with the things that you and of yourself value within yourself. It deals with self-esteem, things like that. And so Sagittarius is the sign of philosophy, right? It is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is not really a materialistic planet like that. And of course, being a sun, moon, earth sign, you're materialistically savvy. But it's like with your second house being in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, monetary things may not completely be like, I can't say completely, because they are like, it'll have to be, you feel me, with the earth signs in your moon and second house, moon and sun. But it's like you value beyond just material gains and possessions, but you tremendously definitely do also value knowledge and information and your life experiences, and like what you were able to learn from them, and what you were able to extract from those life experiences. You know what I'm saying? You may even value teachers, and you may enjoy information, right? Binging your own teachers. You feel what I'm saying? And like with the second house being in Sagittarius, it's an indication of possibly even having potentiality and making money through teaching or through some form of instructing. You feel what I'm saying? Type energy. But anyways, these individuals, one thing that they definitely desire is like financial freedom. You feel what I'm saying? They want to be free financially, but like that doesn't always have to mean being overly extravagant. Even though with the second house and Sagittarius, these individuals may be very extravagant with monetary, you feel me, with splurging monetarily, or also though they are pretty generous as well monetarily. And this is because Sagittarius being ruled by Jupiter is like the sign of charity, it's the sign of mercy, it's a benefic planet, so they're very giving. So you may be like the sibling, for instance, right, or the family member who wants to bless her siblings and her mother or whatever it is. You feel me? Hold on. You feel me? Or whatever it is, But yeah, so these individuals with the second house in Scorpio, they don't really, like, money is of importance to them, but because, Sagittarius is a sign that also is associated with luck, they may even just, some people may perceive them to be lucky when it comes to financial affairs. You feel what I'm saying? Because Sagittarius has expanded, it's fire, and it's expanded fire, right? Fire that's continuously growing and expanding. And so this can even be an indication of them valuing like motivation and enthusiasm. You feel what I'm saying? People that can be motivated and enthusiastic. With like the first house in Scorpio, like there can be an energy of depressiveness, of heavy emotions, right? It's like with your first house being in Scorpio, it's indication that your fourth house, which is in Aquarius, right? In Aquarius, so the fourth house is the house of like relationships. It's the house of the family, and Aquarius is a detached house. So it can be an indication of growing up. You know, maybe it may have been resolved, but growing up there was a detachment familially, right? And not completely feeling attached to your family emotionally. And so that can also add to the depressive energies of the Scorpio energy. You feel what I'm saying? So that may be another thing that is valued: optimism and positivity and harmony. But and it's like you may in of yourself have a positive approach when it comes to finances and money. You may not completely worry about it, right? You may splurge, like spend 10,000 bucks on a on a travel venture. You feel me? Like that's very Sagittarian, you know, like, because there isn't completely worry about it, just an understanding of I can get more money, right? Like they don't, like the Sagittarius energy, they don't per se worry about money being gone, but they're more like, and it's not even worry, but they're more focused on money coming in. You feel what I'm saying? Because it's expansion. You feel what I'm saying? So even if, like, let's say, because this is a placement where financial prosperity is possible, but let's say even if you don't get financially prosperous, you will always not go without. You feel me? You'll always, one way or another, have enough. You feel what I'm saying? To cover your necessities and your needs. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, that's pretty much the second house in Sagittarius. Now let's look into your fourth house. I mean your third house. And so your third house would be in the sign Capricorn. Yeah, it would be in the sign Capricorn. And so with your fourth house being in Capricorn, you know, it's an indication of growing up, possibly, like, well, let me see where your Scorpio is. I mean, where your Saturn is. Saturn, I think, is in your third house, and Saturn is in your third house. So this can even be an indication of, like, the environment growing up may have been one that was, like, very restrictive. Maybe there were a lot of rules and laws that were imposed, and possibly the restrictions may have even just been material, because, you know, Capricorn is a earth sign. Material meaning, like, possibly they may just have, you may have grew up in poverty. You feel what I'm saying? And so thus, like, the third house, it deals with your environment, but it also deals with communication, right? Your initial first communication. This is why the third house deals with your siblings. It deals with your school peers. You feel what I'm saying? And with this energy being here, it's an indication of growing up in a circumstance and environment where like communication amongst peers may have been rigid, like communication with your siblings may have been rigid, like you may have been more of an introvert. Oof. It's crazy how accurate this shit is, you know, because I see the energy I'm talking about being reinforced within your other placements in your chart. But yeah, you know, it's like an extra introverted energy of kind of just being reserved and being conscientious and careful of what you say, in fear of like being judged or being like prosecuted type energy, you know. But yeah, there is a form of restriction and resistance that we talked about, even with your Saturn just being in the third house in general. But like Saturn is also ruling over your third house. You feel what I'm saying? And so Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius. Alright, yeah. And so with this energy here, you know, what happens is you, in a sense, do find yourself becoming a little more calculative with your speech, and not per se being like articulate and having all of these words you have to say, but it's kind of an energy where you're like, you speak when you have something to say, and you kind of keep it short and sweet. You feel what I'm saying? Even though I think your Mercury is in Virgo, and even Virgo, Mercury in Virgo is, yeah, your Mercury is in Virgo, but even like Mercury in Virgo is not really a articulate sign. It's more of a internal energy of overthinking and overanalyzing, but it's more like internal thoughts over external thoughts. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, so also with the moon in Capricorn, it can be an indication of having grown up and had experiences in school where it was like very restrictive. Like what was most prominent in school for you may have been rules and laws, or maybe even like just your parents expecting you to get good grades. Like, and I feel like that's typical of Virgo too, you know. And even if it wasn't parents, it's just like Virgos, they're perfectionists, right? And they want perfect grades and all these things. And, you know, with the moon being in Capricorn here, it's an indication of restriction and limitations when it comes to communication, and even also needing to learn how to tap into your mind and release restrictions and resistance internally, mentally, so then you can think at a greater capacity. You feel what I'm saying? At a greater capacity, and allow a variety of thoughts to flow into your life, and be reminded that you're not that little girl who was restricted and who may have been controlled on what she should think and what she shouldn't think. But you're a grown adult now, and you have a freedom, to explore your mind and to explore your thoughts. But yeah, now let's look into the fourth house. So the fourth house, you have your fourth house in Aquarius, right? So with your fourth house being in Aquarius, first and foremost, I did talk a little bit about the fourth house, and I explained how a lot of the times when individuals have their fourth house in Aquarius, they kind of feel isolated, right? Because Scorpio too, of course, but I'm talking of Aquarius, because Aquarius is a sign that feels isolated. It's the least personal air sign, right? And all the air signs deal with people. And so what happens here is Aquarius's fourth house individuals, they typically are around a variety of people, but they may feel like they're alone because people the Scorpio rising goes around seeking for connections and seeking for people to feel them when they're speaking and trying to connect. But then it's like people just naturally may be intellectuals, and they may not operate like that. And so the fourth house Aquarius may feel like this person is not connecting with me, and they're not paying attention to me, maybe because they're not expressing emotions, and they may feel detached. But it can be more of a projection, in the sense that people may be actually genuinely paying attention and genuinely wanting to hear you out. But it's like just having lack of experiences, even maybe in the household growing up, of connection, and feeling like there wasn't emotional connections there. And even the emotional connections that were there, you kind of had to initiate, you had to force to happen, or you had to bring to people's attention. So with the fourth house in Aquarius, this is energy of being around people, and even family members possibly, and just doing for them, providing for them, but possibly not really knowing how to emotionally connect with them. And that may not even be weird, in the family. It just may be normal, this is just our dynamic, our relationship, this is just how it is. You feel what I'm saying? But what you can do here is learn to channel in that Leo energy of expressing yourself a little bit more in the household, and your unique ability, and getting more into your child energy, but also Cancer energy of expressing yourself, but also expressing your feelings, right? You feel me? Expressing yourself, but also expressing your feelings and emotions, to help open up that space for communication. Is what I'm saying. And so Aquarius is in your fourth house, which means that your fourth house ruler is also Saturn as well. Saturn and Uranus. Let's see where Uranus is. Uranus is in the second house. Uranus is in the second house. So, with Uranus being in the second house, I feel like talking about Saturn is more accurate, but I'm gonna talk about Uranus too. But with Saturn being in the third house, right? It's an indication of communicating, right? Like what I said earlier, learning how to communicate more with your family as well, and learning how to express your mind and your thoughts, and maybe engaging with your kids and engaging their minds, right? And that may be how you establish a connection which you can later build emotion upon. You feel me? But then with Uranus being in the second house, I would say that bringing value to your household, your household members. You feel me? Maybe one way in which you can establish greater emotional connection and emotional rapport. You feel what I'm saying? Sorry about that. But anyways, as I was saying, with your second house, not your second house, with your fourth house being in Aquarius, some people. Anyways, as I was saying before I got distracted, with your fourth house being in Aquarius, with your fourth house being in Aquarius, so Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and also Uranus, co-ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is a planet that deals with individuality. It deals with uniqueness, so it can even be an indication of like your family and the way that it's ran. There is a unique expression about it, you feel me? Very unique energies about it. But anyways, so the more unconventional you can get with your family and the way you guys run things, I feel like the better things will play out. You feel what I'm saying? Rather than trying to follow a conventional, and you probably can't even, like, I know that, like, for instance, you're a single mother, right? And that in of itself is very, in this day and age, it is very conventional, right? To see single mothers around. So it is conventional, but it's like just being unique in the way that you raise your children, or like the way that you go about creating emotional connections with them, you feel me, would be of great, of great understanding or energy or whatever. And it's like allowing everyone in your family household to express themselves uniquely, I think is also of great importance, for what I'm saying. But yeah, I would say that's pretty much the fourth house. Now we're gonna look at your sixth house and your seventh house. I'll be back. Hold on. We still got some time, so let me look into, yeah, you know what, I'll be back. Alright, now we're gonna look into your fifth and sixth house. So your fifth house. The fifth house is the house that deals with creativity, and it ultimately indicates how it is that you express yourself in that area of life that deals with creation, you feel me? Artistic endeavors. Like, this is the house that deals with the stage, and it deals with, if you're an entertainer or a performer, how your performance would look like. You feel what I'm saying? This is the house of Leo. This is the house of offsprings as well, and it's also the house that deals with romance, and like one's sex life. You feel what I'm saying? Alright, so it's in Pisces, right? And so Pisces is a sign that's very idealistic. So first and foremost, individuals with the fifth house in Pisces tend to have a very potent and powerful mind, you feel me, in the sense of their ability to imagine things. They can be naturally creative, you feel what I'm saying? But it's like, and it's also the case with like Scorpio ascendant, also water signs. But this may not completely be the case, because you do also have like the majority of your chart in Earth, right? Earth is more practical, it's more grounded in reality. And it's in the 10th house. But ultimately, this is also an indication, to be more realistic, that your creative abilities and your ability to imagine and just be creative in general may be filtered or expressed through when it comes to your career. You feel what I'm saying? So the fifth house in Pisces also does make an individual who is very, like I already said, idealistic when it comes to the way they express their art. Your artistic abilities and your creative abilities may tremendously be filtered through your belief systems, in the sense that you allow your creative expressions to be expressed according to your according to your beliefs, because Pisces is the sign of beliefs. And so with this placement, it can also be an indication of like, hold on, I'm trying to think. It can also be an indication of it's all good. It can also be an indication of like that's funny. It's an indicator that, so it's also the house of romance, right? And this can be like one night stands and all these other things. It can indicate that there may be this kind of unrealistic expectation when it comes to sexual endeavors, right? But then at the same time, like, it can also be, on one end, it can be delusional and unrealistic when it comes to like one night stands or just having sex. You feel what I'm saying? Like maybe not practicing safe sex type of energy. But at the same time though, like I said earlier, because Pisces is the sign of beliefs, right, in the 5th house, the house of sex, like it can even be filtered through the way you go about engaging in sex is through your beliefs. And with you having Virgo and Jupiter, I would say that it is a more reserved sort of energy, a more kept to self sort of energy. But like with the 5th house in Pisces, it's also an indication that primarily, realistically, what you prefer is like real deep spiritual and like emotional connections when you're having sexual experiences with individuals. And you probably don't really want like that surface level, but you want that deep intimate connection of sex where it's like you and your partner merge together in the act. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, so it's pretty much like 5th house in Pisces. Now let's look into your 6th house, which is in Aries. So the 6th house is the house that deals with work. You feel me? It deals with labor. It deals also with routines. It deals with health. It deals with all these different things. You feel what I'm saying? It's a Virgo house. It's the house of Virgo, right? And so with it being the house of Virgo, just think Virgo energy. And you're a Virgo. And I'm pretty sure I broke down the Virgo energy. I did pretty well. So, but like, this is a house that deals with like your routines, your responsibilities, the things you need to take care of, work, speaking. And so first and foremost, with the 6th house being in Aries, it's an indication of wanting to like be like the leader in the things that you do, your work. You know what I'm saying? You don't really particularly want to be told what to do or what not to do work-wise, but you rather do your own thing work-wise. And this energy right here, it can even, and I mean like, yeah, you know, yeah, because you also have Mars in Gemini and Aries. And but then it's like being a Capricorn moon and a Sun Virgo, you can be a good employer as well. Employee, you feel me? But like you have abilities to be an employer. And so this like reinforces you attracting positions in your job where you're like asked to be a manager or a supervisor or like, you know, run people, because that Sun in Air, I mean that 6th house Aries is very much leadership energy and orientated, you know, being the one who calls the shots type energy. And now Aries in the 6th house, you know, Aries is a sign that deals with great ambition and great dedication and motivation. You know what I'm saying? So what this means is that you and of yourself may have a tendency of like having great ambitions and expectations to reaching heights on your when it comes to your work, and having great goals orientated to work. And so being also the house of like health, there may be an imbalance between you going out and pursuing your work life and then your health life kind of suffering, you know what I'm saying? So there may be an importance of on balancing you not going in hella hard, you feel me, and working that like you neglect your health and everything like that. And so yeah, I think that would be pretty much it with the 6th house. Now let's look into your 7th house. So your 7th house is in, what sign is it in? Your 7th house is in Taurus. So your 7th house is ruled by Venus, you know what I'm saying? And so when the 7th house goes into Taurus, like this can be good, because the seventh house is in Taurus, but it's a square. So because Taurus is the sun that deals with possession, so relationship wise you can be pretty possessive, right? And you can have a tendency of even perceiving like that individual that you're in a relationship with as like your possession, like your material possession. Not material possession, but just you own, or you may even enjoy being owned by a partner, you feel me? Like, and it can get a little toxic when we're dealing with it like that, you feel what I'm saying? But Scorpio likes it a little bit toxic. And so with the seventh house in Taurus, this highlights an individual who is very like committed, you feel me, and loyal. Well, I want to look at where your seventh house is at though. My bad. Where Venus is at though, because Venus is your seventh house ruler. So Venus is in. Well, I'm checking right now. But yeah, so it can get a little toxic because there can be this desire to want to possess. And what's important there is that you don't see your partners as things you possess, but more so individuals that you're having experiences with. You know what I'm saying? Rather than seeing them as like, oh, an extension of your status. Like being with this person means I'm this, I'm that. Because your Venus is in the 10th house. So there may be like a desire to want to be with someone, maybe because of the material things that they have, and so then you can be in a position of like status, you feel what I'm saying? And so more so getting into love for the sake of like companionship and friendship, and getting into love for the sake of love rather than marrying into getting into a marriage because of resources or something like that. You feel what I'm saying? But typically with the 7th house in Taurus, right, I already talked about the loyalty that can be expressed here. You may have a tendency of getting into relationships and them being long relationships, because you're not really a type of individual who fluctuates, you feel me, when it comes to partnerships and relationships. But it's like you want to be like, because Taurus is a fixed sign, right? You want to be with your partner for eternity. There's a fixated energy here. But yeah, so I think that pretty much concludes the Taurus in the 7th house. So also Taurus in the 7th house, another thing I think I can say about it is these individuals in partnerships, they need someone who is grounded, right? That may be something you're attracted to, someone who's pretty grounded, maybe in the material realm, grounded in the material realm, who has their shit together. And so that may even be an indication of being attracted to older people, possibly. Who knows? Yeah, possibly being attracted to older gentlemen. But anyways, now let's look into your 8th house. Okay, now we're going to be looking into your 8th house and your 9th house. So your 8th house is in Gemini. So the 8th house is a house that deals with deep, behind the scenes things. It's a scary house. It's definitely the haunted house, you feel me? It's a house associated with trauma. It can also reveal like hidden enemies, you feel what I'm saying? I mean open enemies, it's the house of enemies, you feel what I'm saying? But this house ultimately deals with your deep resource, like your deep desires, you feel me? Like the 2nd house and the 8th house, they kind of polar opposites. Like the 2nd house is like your finances and your material needs and your resources, but then the 8th house are like those needs that you need at a deeper level. And so now it's in Gemini, right? And Gemini is the sign that deals with thought, right? It deals with thinking, logic, rationality. So first and foremost, with you having Gemini in the 8th house, you are a deep thinker. You have a tendency of having deep thoughts. And, there can even be sinister undertones of the thoughts you have entertained, or you may find yourself entertaining. They can be like gruesome, scary ass thoughts that other people may not be content or comfortable entertaining, but you and of yourself may go for it, So this is also the house that deals with sex, sex and sexuality. Like the 5th house and the 8th house, 5th house, 8th house. Yeah, those are like pretty much the only two. Yeah, those are like the only two sex houses on the chart, pretty much. So, but like the eighth house, it more deals with your deeper, intimate needs and sexuality. And so Gemini, it's a sign that's very like flirtatious, very spontaneous, very experimentative. And I think I didn't have to take that route of explaining the other things it was, but it's very experimentative, right? It's mutable air, spread out air. So there is a desire to want to explore, and sexually you may be pretty what's that word? Experienced. You feel me? You may have some sexual abilities under your belt. You feel me? Like skills, because Gemini is the sign that deals with skills. I'm pretty sure you heard the saying, Gemini is the trade of all. The jack of all trades. You feel what I'm saying? So there is this spirit of wanting to explore sexually. But furthermore, with Gemini being here, there can even be like a bipolarism, not bipolar, bisexualityism, because Gemini is a sign that deals with both feminine and masculine energies, and so it isn't fixed, but it's a possibility, right? It's a possibility that there may be a desire to want to be with females as much as wanting to be with males, and maybe you've had sexual experiences with females, and maybe you liked it even. Who knows? But yeah, although like you do have Gemini and Virgo, my bad, you have Mercury in Virgo, and Mercury's ruling over Gemini. So with Mercury being in Virgo, it can indicate a little more reserved type energy, right? A type energy of like your relationships kind of being entangled with your your sexual energies being entangled with your belief systems, because the ninth house, which your Mercury is in, is also the house of belief systems, philosophy, and we'll get into that pretty soon. But yeah, so when the moon goes in, when Gemini is in the eighth house, it is of importance to understand that you have ability to think deep thoughts, and these deep thoughts can be sinister, but simultaneously they can also be highly spiritual, and energies dealing with behind the scenes. So that may be another thing you may enjoy putting energy and thought into, trying to penetrate like the behind the scenes energy of a situation, or even in your communications, like you want to communicate about things that are behind the scenes, or you just maybe a sort of individual who wants to extract like the mysteries of life. You feel me? And you're in a place where you want to know. You feel what I'm saying? That's like the eighth house in that's the eighth house in Gemini. Now let's look into your ninth house, which is in Cancer. And so your ninth house is in Cancer, and your moon is in Capricorn, in the second house. Alright, so with your ninth house being in Cancer and your moon ruling over your ninth house, this is an indication of there being a tremendous influence over your philosophical beliefs and your perceptions on life, how you go about comprehending life. That was heavily influenced by your domestic life. That is influenced by your domestic life. Your upbringing, your childhood, because that's what Cancer is all about. Cancer is the sign of the family. So it's like with you having your ninth house in the sign of Cancer, it can be a biased filter when it comes to like religious dogma or indoctrination, if what I'm saying, where it's like there may be not a concrete belief in facts, and this is crazy because like your Virgo energy, so I'll get back into it. Like in like the moon in Capricorn though may be an indication, like your moon being in Capricorn though, this can also be an indication of like possibly you kind of being forced, like there may have been some sort of like authority that forced you into believing certain things, like there, you feel what I'm saying? Like if you didn't believe in certain things, you might have gotten punished. Even type energy possibly with like the moon being in Capricorn, because with the moon being in Capricorn, it's an indication that you may have grew up in circumstances and conditions where the prominent energy may have been selfish, and it may have even been influences from the father, you feel what I'm saying, who because you have your sun in Virgo, which indicates that the mother was primarily dominant, you feel what I'm saying. But it's like the mother was dominant, but even the mother, like you might not have had a connection with her, but compared to the father, the mother might have been more dominant. At the same time, I may be reading this wrong. Like if I may be reading this wrong though, but I think that it might be right. Because it's like with the sun being in Virgo, right? Virgo being a feminine sign, the mother would be the most dominant. But then with the moon being in Capricorn and being weak and restricted and limited, it's like power being taken away from the mother. But and within her ability to like nurture and take care, you feel me? And possibly she provided, sure, but like she may not have brought that emotional connection that every child needs. And that may even be why, you know, with like your fourth house being in Capricorn, you kind of lacking that intimate connection with your kids at an emotional level. You feel what I'm saying? But anyways, yeah, you know, so it's of great importance to go back into, as an adult now, to go into your belief systems and ideologies and understand that, like, yo, some of them may be flunked out and they may not be right, you feel me? And you may need to fix, quote unquote, fix them. In the sense of untangling your beliefs on life and your perception on life, on what and how things are, like your philosophy from your emotions, right? Understanding philosophy for philosophy and emotions for emotions, trying to separate that, you feel what I'm saying? Because when the ninth house is in Cancer, it may be an energy of being comfortable and content in regards to your perception on life, in the sense of getting into a religion because it makes you feel comfortable rather than because it's right, type energy. You feel what I'm saying? So it is important to pay attention to that like that bias type energy of, ooh, I like this religious system, I like this truth, but this truth makes me feel a type of way, so I'm gonna disregard it. But then, like, take it as you will, because like you do have that Virgo in the ninth house as well, which is highly analyzing. Oof. So you do have that ability to analyze your belief systems. And so yeah, that's what I would recommend you doing. And so now let's get into your 10th house. So your 10th house is in Leo, which means that the sun is ruling over your 10th house. Your 10th house being in Leo, it's an indication that when it comes to your career life, there is this energy of like you needing to express yourself. You feel what I'm saying? And it's just like so the second house, the 6th house, and the 10th house, these are all the houses of wealth. You feel me? So their energies are very similar. And so like I talked about Aries earlier with the work, you feel what I'm saying? That was more like literal work and what it looks like when you're engaging, you know. So it may be more so bossing people around, having like authority over people, and you know, just being assertive and being ambitious and wanting to get things done. But then with Leo being in the 10th house, it's like your career, your status, and how you're seen. And there's this prestige energy about your status, about the things you've accomplished. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like when you're on the stage, or when your reputation is outlined, or when you're yeah, even at work, right? There may be a need for you to express yourself, and this can be a square, because like with your first house being in Scorpio, you kind of are a type of individual, right, who you want to be behind the scenes, behind the realms, and more secretive than expressive. You feel what I'm saying? But it's like with the 10th house in your public life, you need to get out of that shell of wanting to be reserved and to yourself, and kind of actually express yourself so that people can know who you are. But it's like express yourself creatively. You feel what I'm saying? Like your status and what and who you'll be known for, it is very much entangled within your authoritative abilities, your abilities to lead others, but also your creative abilities and your ability to express yourself. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like the more like, and so then it's like when it comes to the public stage, like being at work and everything, it may be out of your element because you are more of a private person, but then it's like you're asked to be expressive. But like with that Mars and Gemini, there may be a slight energy of being extroverted introvert. I mean an introverted extrovert, but I feel like the extroverted energy is very minimal at a scale. You feel what I'm saying? But anyways, yeah, so that's like it's like Scorpio. My bad, that's the 10th house in Leo. And so your 10th house in Leo, your 10th house Leo is in, let me see where it's at, because I got to check, you feel me? Most definitely got to check. It is, yeah, give me a second as I pull it up. But yeah, you know, with your 10th house though being in Leo, it is important that you understand that your career is greatly entangled with your self perception and how you see yourself. So it's important to associate good self image energies with your career life and your image of self, you know. So seeing yourself for like the dope ass leader that you are in your work life, you feel what I'm saying? Um, yeah. Oh shit, I was wrong. My bad. Leo's actually intercepted. My bad. Leo energy is actually intercepted. Meaning that your 10th house not Leo, but it's in the 10th. It's in Virgo. So with your 10th house being in Virgo, this indicates that. Alright, so with your 10th house being in Virgo, it indicates actually that you're going to be known, like your status is going to be recognized for Virgo things, for being highly systemized, organized, analytical, highly service orientated, highly reliable, right? So when people think of you, they may think of, oh, I can rely on Shawna, like she'll get it done, you feel what I'm saying, type energy. And it's like of great importance to understand that the more service you can render, the greater your prestige and the more expansion you will experience when it comes to your career life. You feel what I'm saying? But then it's like at the same time, yeah, no, it's not even. Never mind. But yeah, you know, so it's like, yeah, with the Virgo energy here, it's of great importance for you to understand. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on. Actually, yeah, with the Virgo energy here, you know, it's of great importance for you to understand that your career life gets better also according to how well you apply your analytical abilities. Meaning, you seeing certain things, like maybe people in your career life trying to take advantage of you, but then you seeing it, right, and addressing it, maybe even. But it's like, yeah, you know, with the Virgo 10th house, it's all about service and putting yourself out there in the world as a servant. Um, as a servant, you feel me? Someone who can be relied upon. And so, yeah, I think that's it. And it's like also you have your sun in the 10th house with Mercury in the 10th house as well. My bad. Your sun is in the 10th house. Jupiter is in the 10th house, and Venus is in the 10th house also. And so this is an indication of like you being inclined towards being highly recognized for like just bringing attention and receiving attention to yourself for your career life. You feel what I'm saying? And that attention that's being received, it is according to how well you can be relied upon. So definitely work on making yourself reliable and unreplaceable in the work life. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, like the energy that I said about earlier when I thought it was in the 10th, when I thought your Leo was your 10th house, like that is still valuable information for you to integrate, specifically more so in associating yourself with a pride upon your work and the things that you do. You feel what I'm saying? But like Virgo probably may not resonate with that like that because they're humble, right? And they're like kind of, they don't mind doing things behind the scene because they want to serve for the sake of helping, you know. They don't want to serve because they want attention or anything like that. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, I would say that pretty much is like the 10th house Virgo energy. And so also with your 10th house being in Virgo and being ruled by the ninth house, my bad, being ruled by Mercury in the ninth house, in the sun. Whoa, actually no, it's actually, yeah, it is in the ninth house. This can be an indication of like your philosophy on life and your perceptions on life may be a great influence on your work. You feel me? And it's like the better you, the more you harness your paradigm, your viewpoint on life, the more your career life will expand and get better as well. You feel what I'm saying? With you having that rulership in the ninth house. Mercury ruling over your 10th house and the ninth house. You feel what I'm saying? Alright, now let's look into your 11th house. So your 11th house is ruled by Libra. both your 11th and your 12th house. So with your 11th and 12th house, we'll talk about your 11th and then talk about your 12th. So with your 11th house being ruled by Libra, it's an indication that you are a good friend, to have. You're very reliable upon, like you know how to put other people before yourself. Um, every single friend that you have, to them, it may feel like a personal connection, if what I'm saying. Like, for instance, like when I accidentally called you and then you answered, I feel like very personal energies, even though we don't really know each other, you know. I guess a little bit, we know each other a little bit. But yeah, so it's an energy where it's like with the Libra energy of being interested in befriending people and just being very harmonious on your approach. So it's very when I talked about your Venus, right? Your Venus being in Leo, your Venus being in Libra, I meant to say. Yeah, it's the same energy technically with your 11th house being in Libra. I mean, the 11th house is like the house of friendships, associationships, and networks, right? And Libra is the sign of marriage, balance, harmony amongst relationships. So you like to have harmony and balance amongst relationships abroad. It doesn't matter if it's a stranger, you know, you would still be friends. So it just indicates that you're a pretty friendly person, right? And so Libra is in the 10th house, which indicates that a lot of your friends are derived from your work life, if what I'm saying. A lot of the friends you receive are from your work life. Right? We kind of talked about that earlier as well with your second house being in the 10th house. With your second house ruler being in the 10th house. I don't know if we talked about that earlier. But anyways, with your 11th house ruler being in the 10th house, the house of career, it indicates that a lot of your friends you may receive from your work life, you know what I'm saying? That's where your friends are at, your work, your work life. But yeah, so now let's conclude by talking about the 12th house. The 12th house, which is also ruled by Venus. So the 12th house is a house of unconscious energy, if what I'm saying. And it deals with the unconscious realm, it deals with the spirit realm. So with you having your 12th house in the house of balance and harmony, it indicates that there isn't much negative influences taking place for you or on you spiritually. But like it's energy of like you have support spiritually, you feel me? And it would be beneficial for you to start formulating relationships with your spirit guides, you feel what I'm saying, and your ancestors, and those who pass this physical world and exist in the spiritual realm, you feel what I'm saying? It also indicates that there needs to be a balance between like the physical world and the spiritual world, you feel me? Learning to balance things out and learning to walk just as much as you walk in the physical world as an earth sign, into the spiritual world as well, you feel what I'm saying? And anchoring yourself and becoming familiar, you feel what I'm saying, of like the spirit realm. Yeah, but I would say like that pretty much concludes like this reading. Yeah, that pretty much concludes this reading. Another thing I can say, because like the 12th house deals with the unconscious mind, and you having your 12th house ruler in the 10th house, it indicates that a lot of your unconscious energy is entangled with your work life, so you may think a lot about your work, you feel me, and it can be even unconsciously thinking about it, like just behind the scenes, you're thinking of work even when you're not at work, you feel what I'm saying? But yeah, it also indicates that spirituality is that thing that you should get into, which will help you attain harmony and balance more so into your life. What I'm saying is like the more you can get into spirituality, the more you can formulate those relationships, you feel me, with those spiritual energies, spiritual beings, the more harmony you'll receive. Yeah. Also, and it may be an indication of like a lot of relationships that you get into, they're more unconscious relationships than conscious, meaning that you get into relationships that are like soul deep, meaning that you and the individual you're connected with, it's not just, oh, you met them physically, but one way or another you guys are spiritually connected as well, you feel what I'm saying? Just connecting with people and just feeling the mysticism type energy. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, anyways, this has been your reading. And so yeah, this was supposed to be the last session, but I accidentally did it as the third session. So we still have just one more session and that'll be it. But yeah, I do definitely hope that you enjoyed this reading. And after these sessions, breaking down your astrology birth chart, we can open up the door into working with each other from a perspective of learning, helping you learn esoteric psychology and mental alchemy. And both esoteric psychology and mental alchemy are entangled with astrology. So we're still technically working with your birth chart, but we're just looking at, okay, so how can you bring in different and new energies to assist in expanding your expression in life. You feel me? But anyways, peace. I do hope you enjoyed this. Definitely let me know what you thought. Namaste. Bye bye.